I assumed it was just another standard assessment to cross off the lengthy and taxing list of tasks that came with it. I spent 7 years of my life working for Cressman Industries, spending late hours in a chilly workplace, rain and takeaway, cartons strewn across my desk as I worked to meet unrealistic deadlines. After 7 years of missed anniversaries, I believed the wet commutes and friendship-losing sacrifices I didn't even have time to grieve were heading somewhere. A corner office, a meaningful prize, or, at the very least, recognition for all the work I put into this. Because of that hope, I made sure my tie was straight before entering the sterile white conference room that morning. Gleaming glass table, cold white walls. I reminded myself to remain composed, to anticipate another list of objectives and successes, perhaps even a small gesture of appreciation from my father-in-law, Frederick Langston, the monarch of this corporate castle. Frederick's expression, as usual, was unreadable. He sat with his hands folded neatly in front of him, the Cressman emblem shining on his lapel, and a blank expression that revealed nothing. He hadn't even bothered to unlock the tablet. And when he did, his voice was icy. The room appeared to tilt. At first I believed I had misheard him. Performance concerns. We're letting you go. I waited for him to elaborate. A little detail, a hint of civility. Something to act as though this were anything other than a well-planned execution. But Frederick simply flatlined his mouth, daring me to debate performance, issues. And just like that, the years of blood and sweat I had given them vanished the moment they stopped needing me. During company retreats, a boss who had previously complimented my work ethic slid a folder across the table. Severance conditions, a confidentiality agreement, a list of things I was prohibited from saying or doing. I left through the glass foyer carrying a cardboard box in my arms and a lifeless, robotic smile on my face. I exchanged forced handshakes and pointless glances with people who couldn't even look me in the eye. The winter sun beamed down with piercing glares, the air harsh and unforgiving in its apathy. I stood there for a while, breathing heavily in the cold, wondering how it could all fall apart so fast. Still in a trance, I got into my car and drove off, as if I had never mattered at all. I convinced myself Elise would understand. As I drove, home, gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled hands, I pictured my wife, my spouse, my anchor, incensed on my behalf. I imagined her saying Frederick's decision didn't define me. I mentally practiced the talk a dozen times, clinging to the hope that we would work through this together, that when the world turned its back on me, the person I loved would still be there to support me. I should have realized it sooner. The moment I pulled into the driveway, the house didn't look right. Too still, too quiet. There was a warm glow in the window, but no warmth inside. I opened the door and stepped into the front hall. Elise was standing statue-like beside the door, her luggage already packed, tidy and efficient, as if she had been preparing for this moment for weeks. She didn't say a word, just placed a large packet on my chest with methodical precision, like delivering a package to a stranger. I opened it with trembling fingers. Divorce papers, a second letter nullifying the prenuptial agreement, something I hadn't even noticed, her subtly changing months prior. And, to go a step further, a brochure? I asked. For a nearby homeless shelter, she replied, emotionless. You're useless now, useless. I gazed at the woman I had loved, fought for, sacrificed for, and in her eyes my heart heard the gunshot. That's when I saw it. She had never loved me at all. I had been a tool, a stepladder to reach her goals, someone to raise her up, until I was no longer needed. I didn't yell, I didn't plead. I still had enough pride to turn around and walk away, despite the injuries, despite the humiliation. I left with nothing more than a rumpled duffel bag and a few crumpled clothes inside, keeping my head up. I didn't even notice my heart quietly splintering inside my chest as I stepped out and shut the door behind me. And when I turned to look back, what did I see? A house that had been stripped of everything that once felt like home. My breath came heavy as I trudged to my car under a dusk sky that quickly turned to night. I sat behind the wheel for a long time, the cold biting through the windshield, the clouds brief and stinging. I could almost hear Frederick's smug joy, Elise's icy satisfaction. They believed they had taken everything. They believed they had cast me out of my own life. But I turned the key in the ignition. My mind was dazed. Yes, but my hands, they were steady. As the engine roared to life, so did something inside me. Cold. Clear. I wasn't sure how or where I was heading, but right there, under the pitiful stars, I made a promise. They would regret underestimating me. That first night, I slept in my car. The seats were rigid. The windows fogged with every breath. I parked in the far corner of an abandoned lot and wrapped my old coat tightly around me, the one I'd left in my trunk, searching for warmth, searching for anything. Sleep came in fits, broken by every gust of wind, every creak of the frame, every groan of the outside world. I stared up at the ceiling of that car, wondering how quickly a life could unravel. A few icy words, a signature, and everything you've built vanishes. The second night, I knew I had to do better. Pride is heavy, but survival is heavier. I rented a room under a different name, paid cash, kept my head down. The motel was run down, on the edge of town. The air conditioner moaned like it was dying. The mattress sagged, but I stretched out and let my body rest. For the first time in 2 days, and as I lay there, I realized I wasn't broken. No. Something else sparked in my blood. Because here's the truth. My time at Cressman? That wasn't my legacy. That was my distraction, a performance, a mask. While they were so busy patting themselves on the back, I was creating something real, hidden behind shell corporations, disguised through faceless entities. What they didn't know, I owned the consulting group responsible for Cressman's greatest successes, every major acquisition, every profitable merger. I had quietly built and steered the very empire they believed they ran. Frederick thought he was protecting me, that I was too small to matter. He didn't realize I had been pulling the strings all along, and now that they had discarded me, they had set me free. Unrestrained, I began planning. By the dim light of that motel room, I propped a chair under the doorknob and booted up a damaged laptop I'd salvaged from my trunk. My fingers danced across the keyboard, guided by muscle memory and spite. I secured my real accounts, hidden behind layers of shell companies, numbered trusts, and offshore havens. Then I began the quiet dismantling. Anything connected to Cressman. Anything connected to Frederick's empire. Gone. One by one, I shut down the pipelines, redirected investments, withdrew support, stopped the money, carefully, quietly. By night 3, I no longer slept. I didn't need to. I became a ghost in their machine, the very one they believed they'd buried. I made calls, collected favors, triggered traps they never even saw me set. Wire transfers bounced, shipments failed. Frederick's mighty empire began to falter. Elise? She was too obsessed with appearances to see the ground shifting beneath her, all from a filthy motel room, all with a duffel bag, a broken laptop, and a fire in my soul. They thought I would disappear, but ghosts don't vanish. They haunt, and when everything they relied on began to crumble, when the dust swirled beneath their designer shoes, they would ask, what went wrong? They'd never guess it was me, because I didn't rage, I didn't beg, I didn't scream into the void. No, I vanished, quiet as a shadow falling from a photo's edge. And now? Now I move in silence. And they'll feel me coming. There was a shipment delay here. To someone like me, what appeared to be accidents were the first intentional actions of a much bigger scheme. But I wasn't done yet. I had been laying traps in Kresman's silent ownership claims over infrastructure, hidden in patent applications and licensing agreements, organized using third-party shells and intellectual property registered in countries they didn't even keep an eye on. When Frederick posed for magazine covers and took home business honors, all of it was legally mine, but sufficiently disguised to give the impression that it was his. I was laying a secret foundation beneath him that could be torn away in a single motion. And I did just that. I triggered those claims one by one with a flick of my wrist, first freezing their access to essential software licenses required by Cressmont to run its core logistics. Then, I withdrew crucial consulting services. The exclusive market data they once relied on vanished. Lawsuits began. In the background, there were murmurs of neglect, breach. But Frederick wouldn't hear them until it was too late. I was too late to stop them from leaving my most recent hiding place, a plain, rented unit. I saw the anarchy begin to blossom, in a place 2 cities away, where nobody looked at me in the elevator. I didn't have to do anything, because I had already constructed the machine, and I was simply letting it operate. They believed they had banished a piece. In reality, I had ruled this game for years, and I was finally free. I could move without hesitation or compromise, freed from the bonds of pretense. I had my own empire. I didn't require Frederick's sanction. I didn't need Kresman's approval, or Elisa's icy admiration. Invisible, patient, ruthless. The beauty of it